TYT Politics. I'm here in the Faith Deliverance Center, and I'm here with the bishop. And I wanted to ask first, before we get into the water crisis, you've been here for 20 years, and you've seen a lot of things. Can you tell me 20 years ago, when you first came in here, what did Flint look like?
20 years ago, well, I've been a native of Flint all my life. And 20 years ago, on the east side, there was houses and businesses. I can just think, just going down the west side of the street, there was house, a printing company, a church, a bar, laundromat. Just I could go all the way down the street, and there were businesses, flourishing businesses on the corner, auto repair shop. And so that was 20 years ago, a very thriving community. When we came over here on the east side, we had a feeding program. There were schools, elementary schools, 3 in the area. And one of the problems with the elementary school that they fed on Monday through Friday, but Saturday and Sunday, there was nowhere for the youth to eat breakfast. And so we created a program that we did, a feeding program in the morning. Another program that we had instituted here at Faith Deliverance Center was a clothing program, because there were jobs. And there were people that were coming out of prison. There were people, homeless people, that were being employable, but they didn't have the right clothes to wear at that time. And so we provided clothing for the workplace.
And I asked that because when I drive through Flint now, I'm not from here, but it looks like one of those ghost towns, you know? You got cracked roads, buildings that look like they've been burnt, houses that look like some of it's been burnt, and it kind of just looks like there's hints of just charcoal everywhere. Can you kind of talk about that?
I can talk about that because also I was an employee. I'm a retiree from General Motors. And when you say burnt is one thing and vacant is another. But when you tear it down and you make green space, there's no hope. The hope is taken away. I used to work at Chevrolet downtown, which there's no Chevrolet downtown anymore. I used to work at AC Spark Plugs, and I worked on Dordt Highway, I worked on Center Road, I worked on Averill. Well, if you would go and look now, there's no Dordt Highway AC. There's no Center Road AC. There's one little building left on Center Road. And so when we look at, not only were the jobs taken away, but the hope was taken away. And when you take hope away, what do you have? You don't have anything to cling to. You don't have anything to invest in. It's just vacant, and that's what it is. It's a lot of vacant property that has been left. We don't need green space. We need, because if you got green space, where are the people going to live? If you have green space, where are the people going to work at?
For people who don't know, what's green space?
Green space is a vacant land with grass. As I look, if you go down Industrial, and I know you've seen Industrial, and from Pearson Road almost to downtown Flint, which is a few miles, it's vacant. It's vacant land with a fence around it, where once it housed hundreds and thousands of people that were employable. They had jobs. They had hope. They had something to invest in our community. And now the jobs are gone. The people are gone. The finance is gone. So where's the investment?
You know, it's interesting because a lot of people look at Flint and just think the water crisis, but Flint, like, what was where GM began. Flint used to be like Detroit, kind of like the face of the middle class. You know, you had families, maybe one parent worked, the other one could watch the kids. maybe get a vacation. What we think about the gravy days of the 1950s.
Yeah, and when you talk about GM and the water crisis, Flint came from Detroit Water to Flint River Water in April 2014. In August of 2014, General Motors found that we still do have General Motors plants here in Flint, Michigan, and they found that the water was corroding their parts, and so it was not feasible for them to stay here. And so they went to the powers that be and asked for permission to, without any charge, permission to leave from Flint River Water and go back to Detroit Water. And in October of 2014, they gave the General Motors permission to go back to the Detroit Water. But they said it cost too much. So they valued an automobile part more so than they did the lives of the people in Flint. 100,000 people. They valued a piece of material more so than they did the lives of those in Flint, Michigan.
So about the switch, from reporting I've done and people I've spoken to, I'm not making the accusation that they intentionally knew that it was going to poison people, but they knew that it was not treatable, that the water it wasn't able to be treated. They knew that the Flint River was very dirty. So talk to me about what goes through your mind, because I don't really think they would have made that decision in a nice white neighborhood.
Let's back up. 50 years ago, they were using Flint River water before the contaminants from General Motors, the contaminants from DuPont, the contaminants from the milk. They were using Flint River water, and they found that it was not suitable 50 years ago. That was before all the contaminants went in it. And so 50 years later, they said, well, we're going to try it again. Not testing, not doing their due process or their due diligence in order to make sure that it was safe and healthy to be consumed by human beings. Whether you're black, white, green, or purple, human beings are human life. Before they raised the water, before they changed in 2014, the rates were so high. Do I have a home right here? I sure do, right next door to the church. I have a home, and the bill was so high. The bill was so high till we couldn't afford to pay the water bill. So it wasn't that we didn't live here, we didn't cook here, we didn't sleep here. We did. But because of the overwhelming price for a little bit of water, people were getting their water turned off because they couldn't afford to pay the bill.
And this was when it was in Detroit water.
That's when it was in Detroit water, because can't remember what month when they started raising. And then, so the catch was to tell the people, even though we didn't have a voice in coming from Detroit back to Flint, well, the water rates will go down. You won't have to pay as high water rates. And so, even though Flint, even though they didn't vote, they didn't have a say-so whether they were coming back and use Flint River water. And one of the processes, and I can remember them saying that the reason why they had said they were changing back, but the reason why they wasn't doing it yet was because they were making sure that it was ready to be consumed by the citizens of Flint, which was lies. And they didn't think enough of a human life to make sure to put the treatment in the water that would cost $100 or less a day. And now they have to spend millions of dollars to restore the structure, the infrastructure, to restore the pipes, to restore the faith and the confidence of the people. There are some things that cannot be restored by money, which is lives that have been taken away. The children brains that have been damaged because of the water consumption. So there's some things that money can buy, but all they had to do was invest, be concerned, take their time and make sure that I have a quality product. Like you said, in any other city. No, the reason why come they chose Flint is because it's predominantly a city of color. Over 65% city of people of color. So we were expendable.